Good for Rob Duffy to get back on the score sheet as well this weekend, get a bit of confidence back in his boots.
Rob's had his critics and his time. Got nothing for praise for him. I think he led the line extremely well. That's the mark of a good striker. He's in the last few games he's been authoritative in that area. I think he's shown a mannerism that I like, and I think other people are noticing it now, which is I've had that belief in Rob all the time, and I think you've got to have that with your striker, and he's earned his place. But it was an excellent finish, tremendous finish.
But also Rob's work round the park as well. He's not just he wasn't just an out-and-out striker on Saturday, especially when you set up 4-3-3.
No, he's good in both boxes, and he's certainly prepared to put his nut in where it needs to be. But for him to get a volley that way, he led the line extremely well, and I think other players he's bringing other players into the game. But I think when you look at Jake and you look at perhaps Wayne Rooney, you look at their energy levels, and they're getting back making tackles, and that's a striker. The modern day striker now he's got to put that shift in from the front, and we've always spoke about that. And Rob did those, that tracking back when he was needed to. So that's part of the game he's improved on no end, and he's playing at the top of his game in a minute. So I'm very pleased with him.
One player's been very persistent since his return, is Blair Sturrock, also getting back on the score sheet as well, especially considering how close he came in the other games.
He's had a lot of near misses. He's had a few oohs, but they're no good to anybody then. But I like Blair. I like him as a player. I like him as a person, and he's technically very, very gifted. And it's now down to him to continue working in that same vein. He's off the mark. That's probably been playing on his brain a little bit. And strikers, you live and die by your goals, but Blair's certainly got the ability to play in a high level. He finds himself at Mansfield, and he's worked hard. And to tell you something now is that you can't find anybody who works any harder. He works extremely hard away from the pitch as well.
Now, we've not mentioned Kyle Perry yet, or John Shaw, and there's also Jake Spate, who's out injured at the minute. Now, we don't wish injury upon anyone, but if Jake Spate was fit, you would be having a real selection dilemma, I imagine, up front at the minute.
Be a nice one to have. I think any manager would want that scenario. But the little fella, Jake, I think he's a big loss to us. He is, and any team would lose who loses a guy that's in form like Jake does. Like Brodie, when he steps out of York, they've got a replacement, but the guy's done a great job. So yeah, he's a miss, but the other boys, Pez has played his part, and he's a muscular guy, isn't he? And he's certainly doing his best to get on the score sheet as well. And want to come off his backside soon and go in, so that's good. But likewise, I think John Shaw's made an impression here already for everybody. That I think that the time is that I've had to. Respect John with the fact is that he had a little niggle in his first week, which was a disappointment. I think his work rate, he contests every ball, which is tremendous.
With all those strikers in place, if they are all fit, have you got an idea as to what your ideal combination is up front?
Yeah, but you've got to have plan B, haven't you? You can't just always work in an ideal world. I think I don't know what an ideal world is. If you can win every week, then wonderful, but it doesn't happen in life. It doesn't happen in the conference. But yeah, of course, you pick people on form, and you pick. I see. The thing is, what fans and people don't realise is that we manage these players every day. We know what's going on in their brains. So when you make changes, you do them for a reason, and some things have to remain private. And every manager in the world will tell you that. So people can say, you change this, you change. But that's done for reasons. When you've got players who are in form and playing well, I think a striker is always different. Is that if you're a striker and you're playing well, you can contribute just as much as when you're not scoring goals, because you bring other people into play, and that's a mark of a good striker.
Let's leave the front men alone now. Another man who stood out on Saturday, John Challoner, and the Challoner throw is becoming, shall we say, a very, very handy weapon indeed.
Well, it's part of his armoury, and I knew that. I wanted that. I've always wanted that. I couldn't find one last year with a long enough throw. But it's when you've got a strong side, and I think the dynamic of this dressing room's changed no end, is that we can now manage conference football. Is that it's a powerful league. It's unforgiving. I read what Steve Evans said at the weekend. It can be a big difference on any week between the teams. You look at Ebbsfleet, the amount of scalps they've taken, and they've done very well. But Steve's right, this league is unforgiving. It's a powerful, strong league, very competitive. And if you can bring something like John, who's got that to his bow, then it's another attribute that we welcome to our dressing room.
As a former player, can you just explain to us how difficult it is defending that long throw? Why is it different to a corner, say?
Well, look, it's a different trajectory, certainly. It's coming in to an area that's hard to defend, certainly if you've got superior height and strength in the right areas. You can open up there's teams that have done it. I mean, so it'll always be significant with Stoke, won't it, because of Rory Delap. But we're not that type of team. We try to play as well as we can in areas. But if they've got that to their armoury, you know, how many goals have you seen at the Britannia that have flown in off centre half's head, and the goalkeepers looking like donuts who can't catch it? So it's a tough one, and I think, you know, with the ball coming in from different areas, we're asking questions of teams now, which is we didn't have that before.
Returning back to the league now, Mansfield aren't in action midweek, but there are a number of games that can directly affect you. Oxford play your next opponents, Rushden. There's also York versus Luton Town. Will you have one eye on those games?
I'll have two eyes on one of them. I aim to go to one of them games, yeah, and I'll get the other one watched, certainly. But that's every week anyway. We know enough about them as well. We've seen both teams. Got great respect for both of their managers at Oxford and Rushden and York, sorry, and you know, it's exciting, isn't it? There's a lot of twitchy people out there at the moment, and you've got to show your composure and your professionalism.
So you've got one eye on both of those games. Have you got an idea in your head as to how you'd like those results to go? Or
well, I think you've got to say, right, well, okay, Rushden are doing very well, and say you've got a lot of time for Justin and Michael is coach there. Do you think Oxford can win it? Do you want Oxford to go and win it? I don't know. I think, look, it is what it is. You know, they're both good clubs. They're both, you know, pushing to do as well as they can. They're both having very good seasons, and you know, likewise, you know, so are we. So I think the home games are going to be effective for us, and we've got to keep our eyes firmly on what we are doing.
And talking of the next home game, Rushden on Saturday, it's good to have 5 days preparation, isn't it, going into that game?
You know what? It's wonderful because after the snow and the sleet and the weather that was deteriorating over the Christmas period and into January, it's been very difficult getting on the training ground and doing as much preparation regarding functional stuff and phases of play, which any manager wants to do. So it's lovely to have a clean bill of health this week, really. You know, there's only probably a couple of niggles that we've got to worry about. Ollie's not very well today, so it's nice to have a squad out there being able to go on the training ground.
Obviously, with these two home games coming up, they're like massive cup finals, 2 in 4 days. If you need the fans ever this season, this is when you need them, these two games, isn't it?
You've hit your nail on the head. No, I mean that honestly. I didn't expect that many fans to go down there and show the type of commitment. Because, you know, when you're all hurting, you know, it showed that they're what they're about, and I thought they were fantastic at the weekend, tremendous. And I say, if I could pick them all up and put them in the same place and get them behind one goal, I'd be over the moon. But Phil Mill, let's hope that spreads and that feel-good feeling can go on to all the terraces, and you know, really get behind the players. It's a massive boost to us. It was at the weekend, it really was.
Maybe one or two of those who came for the first time, they didn't really enjoy the game, said one, they've seen what's happened since, maybe you might just...
It's funny, isn't it? It's funny, you know, because I received a couple of harsh letters, if you like, from respectable fans, which I understand massively, that came through and watched that game at Gateshead. And I say, you always take your criticisms and analyse it. We care about the fans here, and I'd say none more so than myself, because I'm a supporter of this football club as well. As the chairman, the board, we all care about it, and we want to take it as far as we can. But as I say, you know, it's nice when people give you a well done as well. You can't keep getting kicked and kicked and kicked. And I know the expectation levels are high, and quite rightly so. We want to do as well as we can, but it's a tough league. It's a strong league, isn't it? I think people are noticing it, you know, as much as ever.